I'm sitting here with Fred Ernest, CEO of Vista Gold. Good afternoon, Fred. How are you?
Very well. Good afternoon, Trevor.
So you recently put out some news earlier this week, where the company released news announcing results of its ongoing grinding and leaching tests for Mount Todd. The news release had indicated that gold recoveries exceeding 90% may be achieved depending on final grind size. Can you talk and walk our listeners through the test process and the results of that?
Absolutely. Trevor, thanks for asking that question. After we completed the updated preliminary feasibility study, we began another round of testing. We had determined that two-stage grinding would be very effective and efficient and offer great benefits for the project as part of that update. But all of the samples that were prepared for the two-stage leach tests or the ultimate leach test that we conducted were prepared in two stages of ball mill grinding. And we've selected a different kind of grinding method for the second stage of grinding. It's called stirred media grinding, and it's really a case of the shell of the mill stays static and the shaft rotates, and there's either discs or bars on that agitate the media to grind it. And the result is that instead of grinding by impact, the stirred media mills grind more in shear. And so it creates, because the grinding mechanism is different, it creates a different final product size distribution. So after announcing the results of the preliminary feasibility study in January, we began a process of getting some more material prepared and sending it out to labs, one at Corp Metallurgy, which works for Glencore, and they do all of their design work, and the other was F.L. Schmidt, who manufactures a vertical mill that we looked at as well. And getting those results, or that material that was fine ground using these two different types of mills, we then submitted it to leach tests. And we did so in triplicate, so that this isn't just a one-off number, but rather that we were able to validate the numbers that were generated. And the bottom line is that due to two factors. One is that in this other type of grinding mill, in a stirred mill, and specifically in the isomill, the material grinds a lot easier than was projected. And so the first round of tests, the labs overground the material. They created a product that was much finer than what we expected, and even at that, they consumed less power to generate that sample. And so we've started looking at this from the point of view of, can we achieve a finer grind size with less energy consumption? Mm-hmm. Now, it turns out that we have less media consumption than what we estimated as well. And so the combination of those two factors, less power, less media consumption, mean that ultimately we'll be able to grind to a finer size at lower costs. And so we completed two sets of tests. These tests indicate that at grind sizes of 38 and 25 microns, or in other words, about two-thirds and a little under half the size that we had targeted in the last update of the PFS, that we will achieve recoveries in excess at or in excess of 90%. Mm-hmm. And this is a very significant step forward for the project, being able to reach this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. We had a lot of questions when we shared information about the automated sorting. One of the questions was, that's really interesting technology. Where has it been used and successful before? And so I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of the same questions with this. So can you maybe give us some examples of where it's already in place and been successful in other spots?
Yeah. The isomills have been installed in many parts of the world. This technology was introduced by Glencore in 1993.
Okay.
It's being used at numerous operations in South Africa. This is technology that's been around for a long time, and the machines just keep getting bigger. We're using 15 cubic meter machines in our design, or 15 cubic meter mills. And this is nothing that's brand new, off the shelf, experimental in any way, shape, or form. This is something that's been used for quite a while. It's been used in operations that have harder rock than ours. And but its niche is that it's used for fine grinding. And that's what we're doing, is we're taking the ball mill product and we're reducing the size even further.
Mm-hmm. And I know the metallurgy of Mount Todd, based on the geology of the ore deposit, has always been a question for the project. Why is this an ongoing part of the transformation of Mount Todd?
Well, we're continually looking for ways to improve the project. Recovery is one of those big things. Mm-hmm. When in 2013 we had a recovery of 81.7%. With the improvement, with the introduction of the regrind circuit and the test work that we'd completed prior to announcing that result, we estimated that we could achieve 86.4%. That was a big step. And recovery is, in a way, a proxy for gold price. They both do the same thing to your bottom line. Mm-hmm. They increase revenue by either you sell more gold or you get a higher price for the gold. And so seeking to continue to improve that is a very important part of the work that we're doing to optimize the project. This is low cost, very high return test work. Mm-hmm. We're not spending a lot of money to achieve these results, and yet the results are tremendous.
Right. Now, with my familiarity reading 43-101s and other feasibility reports based on processing, from my understanding, a lot of that 85 to 87% recovery rate is very, very respectable, no matter what type of project you're in the gold space. Now, you're talking 90% or more. Why is that significant? I mean, is that rare in this type of instance?
It may not be rare, but it's not common.
Sure,
certainly, it's depending on the deposit, depending on all of the different parameters. Achieving a gold recovery in the mid to high 80% range is quite respectable. Breaking above the 90% range is really that's an accomplishment, mm-hmm. and it's something that we've been striving for. Now, I think it's important for the listeners to understand that there's some exciting news that could follow this, and the reason is that in achieving the 90% recovery at the grind sizes that we're talking about, and there's still more test work to be done to completely confirm and validate this. But we did this on a low-grade sample, a sample, two different composites. Their average grade was 0.65 and 0.66 grams per ton. That's below our average grade. It's about halfway between the cutoff grade and the average grade.
Yeah, your cutoff's about 0.4.
That's right. And so achieving this recovery with a low-grade sample is very exciting for us, because where we think we're at is we think that we have finally reached a grind size where we are achieving what's called a constant tail. In other words, and that's one of the things that we're going to test and validate, mm-hmm. is that as we grind and then leach higher grade ore samples, if we're able to achieve the same tail grade, in other words, somewhere between 0.06 and 0.07 grams per ton going out to the tailings impoundment facility, what that means is that as we process higher grade ore, the recovery goes up.
And what does that do for the economics?
It improves it.
But that 3.5% at even that low grade is quite significant for your economic bottom line.
1%. For Mount Todd, a 1% improvement results in approximately a $30 million improvement in NPV of the project. And at the same time, it adds about 0.6% to the IRR.
And this was about a 3.5% improvement.
So we're targeting a 3.5% improvement.
Wow.
So we're talking something on the order of $100 million improvement in NPV of the project, and a 2% improvement in IRR. Yeah. This is significant return on investment that we're talking about.
So you and I have been talking about Mount Todd for just a little over a year now. And I have to admit, this is probably some of the most enthusiastic conversation that I've seen you have. I mean, what is like as the CEO of this company, and your blood, sweat, and tears are behind this, like how excited are you just based on this simple testing?
We've worked hard on Mount Todd. You know that.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on many different occasions. We've taken this project from a project that had failed to resolving the crushing issues and being able to deal with hard ore and understanding the mineralogy and ultimately the metallurgy through 55,000 meters of drilling. We have systematically and methodically attacked and sought solutions to each of the challenges that have been brought up before us. And at 81.7% recovery, we thought that was pretty good at the time. Mm-hmm. And then to get it to 86.4 was just a tremendous step forward. But the technology that we selected, the stirred mill grinding technology, is the regrind circuit. The metallurgists that worked for us just said, when you grind this material in an actual mill, you will see another improvement. And we weren't quite expecting the magnitude of the improvement. We were hoping 1% or 2% maybe. But the rock has surprised us, and I guess really not surprised us. What we're seeing is that as we break the particles down finer and finer, that they're starting to exhibit more of the characteristics of the fine-grained sediments, the siltstones and shales that are the host for this deposit, mm-hmm. and less of the characteristics of the quartz and the other hard minerals. And so we're coming off the backside of this curve, so to speak, where we're starting to get substantial returns with less and less cost.
Sure.
And that's just great for the project.
Right.
And so, we're in a challenging time. This is news like this is phenomenal news.
Right.
Really, what this is doing is it's allowing us the project is treading water right now. Even though the gold price has fallen from $1,320, $1,330 when we announced results in January to $1,215, $1,220. We based it, and the foreign exchange rate has dropped, which is favorable to the project. But with the change in recovery, if we're able to achieve ultimately the numbers that we're talking about, this will take us a step up again.
Right.
And so we've just been treading water between the combination of gold price and foreign exchange rate. But this is a game changer. This again allows us to take another step up. And to create value. And our goal is to translate this value in the project into recognized value for the shareholder.
And with these results, obviously there potentially could be more opportunity down the road that you'll be sharing with shareholders via news releases. What else is happening this summer at Mount Todd that investors might be interested to know?
Well, certainly, we've been pretty clear in saying that we're going to undertake a small amount of exploration. We've got a couple of targets. The Wandy target is a target that we've drilled once before. We've spent a lot of time in the interim doing some geophysical work. This is an iron oxide copper gold system, is what we believe it is, and we're drilling there in the next several weeks. I hope that by the end of September, first part of October, that we have assay results. And we'll be able to talk about that. We're also going to drill a couple of holes and test the target at Goldeneye. We've had a rethink about our interpretation. This is a soils geochemical anomaly underlined by a significant geophysical anomaly. We're very intrigued by this. It kind of looks like it's like the Batman deposit mm-hmm. looked before it was discovered. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of drilling there. And last of all, we're going to drill a couple of holes at the Quigley satellite deposit with the idea of infill drilling. And if things go well, we'll dedicate a little bit more, a few more resources to drilling there so that we can ultimately convert those resources to reserves. Right. So there's a little bit of exploration work going on. That's always a good thing. But it's exploration, and sure. We'll wait for results.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you wanted to communicate with shareholders and investors about Mount Todd before I let you go?
Now, Trevor, I think just the one thing is to reiterate, that these are initial results. These are very exciting initial results. We're now going to be undertaking a series of grinding and leaching tests. We'll be doing more work with Core Labs to test using the isomill technology. We'll be running those tests on ore samples that have higher grade. Some of them will be mixed ore samples so that we can estimate the complete range of ore types that we'll have, as well as the grade of material that we'll process so that we can generate a grade recovery curve, validate that we are in fact at a grind size where we're achieving a constant tail. And when we get all this finished, we're going to take a step back and look at whether these results merit restating the economics of the PFS study that was updated in January of this year.
Sure.
The mechanics of it are very simple.
Absolutely.
It's just changing a couple of cells in a spreadsheet, but this could have a very significant impact. And we continue to believe strongly that at some point the gold price is going to improve, and this is just another step down the road in positioning the project not to be built today, not to be financed and put into construction at this gold price. Mm-hmm. This doesn't reward shareholders the way we want to reward shareholders, but rather it positions the project so that at the right time, in the right market, and at the right gold price, that the Mount Todd project can move forward very quickly with a great deal of confidence and reward the shareholders in the way that we want to.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Fred. Vista Gold is traded on the New York Stock Exchange America and also on Toronto Stock Exchange under the symbol VGZ. Thank you for your time, Fred, and we will talk to you again soon.
Very good. Thank you, Trevor.